I'm just on my first cup of coffee for today, and I had tea at first when I woke up. That's one thing actually that I have noticed about my life here. I have a lot of coffee, which is something that I didn't really used to do. Have back at home in Nigeria. It was more. I've always loved tea. Um, and I've always loved drinking tea, even in the afternoons and all. But since getting to Australia, they are very big on their coffee. And at first, I just was keeping to my tea routine. But then I realized that coffee actually is good, as you might know, like with just keeping you awake through the day. Um, Especially when I started working as well. Like coffee is a way of bonding with other people around you, your colleagues. I remember the first job that I got. My manager actually used to make us coffee in the mornings, which was really nice of him. And it was kind of very different from back home in Nigeria, where I mean, it's kind of they're very, very strict in terms of the hierarchy of like your manager would not necessarily be making you coffee or tea. But over here, it's a bit more laid back in terms of the work culture, I have to say. Having said that, though, I will cover a little bit more about friendships and the workplace. I find that there is a big difference between making friends here at work and making friends back at home in Nigeria. I found it much easier to make friends with my colleagues and peers in Nigeria. It was just more organic. It was just, there was more of just an easy flow about being able to um, just transform your work relationship to more of like a more, I don't know, just less formal relationship outside of the workplace. Whereas I think when I think about the people that I've met here at work, it's more like work is for work, and you can do things within that context of work, like do team bonding events, go for team lunches and stuff like that. But outside of making plans to meet up on the weekends with work colleagues, it's not very, for me, in my own experience, and I'm talking from my experience, people might have their own different views or experiences. um, but that's been what I have found. And when I think back on how things were in Nigeria, I used to work in a call center back in Nigeria, and I remember we used to take this the staff bus, which is not something they do here anyway. So I think the staff bus also made it created that avenue for bonding with your colleagues outside of just talking about work, but also talking about other things like your personal lives and things like that. So I remember making friends through just talking to people on the staff bus. So anyway, that's a different topic for a different day, I think. But yeah, so I guess one of the things that maybe I should talk about more is why I chose Australia. Um, I think besides my need for adventure as well, there was back in the day, like that was in the early 2000s. And I know, like, depending on how old you are, you might remember what used to the very advent of the internet. There used to be this thing called the Yahoo chat messenger rooms. And I remember just I was still doing my first degree then in Nigeria, in the university in Nigeria. And um, I just found it was a very interesting time, because that time the internet was just starting to flourish. People were just becoming very familiar um, with using the internet and all that. So I remember that it just opened my world in a way that I didn't expect. when I was able to just talk to people from different parts of the world, like from Germany, from the UK, from America. And then there was someone I was chatting with then um, that was in Australia. And he told me a lot about life here. And I never really thought too much about Australia. But then I think as I started chatting with this person, he was telling me a lot about life here in Australia, and I realized, oh wow, they actually speak English. Because prior to then, I had been thinking more about what I wanted to do after my first degree, because I knew that I wanted to do my master's. I wanted to do further studies after university. And I also knew that I wanted to do it abroad. So I thought about other places, and I had also even started to apply to other places like Canada. I remember getting admission in a school in Canada, but I wasn't given the visa. I applied for the student visa and I got knocked back. And the UK, obviously, I'd gone there, I traveled there, but I just felt like I wanted somewhere other than the UK. Um, and America for me was also an option, but then I thought to myself, um, there are so many things about. I didn't really want to go to America for whatever reason. Um, I also think the whole doing GMAT or GRE put me off going to um, just applying to universities in America. Um, and I knew that if I want to visit there, I can always go and visit. I have a lot of cousins and relatives there, but I just felt like for studying, I wanted somewhere different. So yeah, so I think talking to that person on Yahoo Chat Messenger at that time kind of just gave me the idea that, oh, why not look at universities in Australia as well? And I realized that it wasn't even as expensive as going to the UK at the time. I don't know about now, but I can imagine that it's still the case. And I looked into their options for what happens after you study. And back then, anyway, the PR route was really appealing to me. It looked like it was something that um, I could be able to do. Um, so yeah, that was how I decided to apply um, to universities in Australia, and I got my admission and things like that. So I think in my previous video, I've talked a little bit about making friends. When I first got here, it wasn't too daunting. There were all these events and things that were organized by the university for international students. So it was really easy actually to make friends because there are people like me that were also keen to meet people. Um, so it was easy. But afterwards, I found myself in a completely different um, place in terms of after school, after my studies. So that brings me back to making friends in the workplace. It was not as easy, although I have to say one of my very good friends now, I've been friends with her for the past 12 years. We are still friends. So sometimes it's easy, just depending on the personality of the person. But I just realized that a lot of people that you meet um, in the workplace here, and I think it also has to do with the time in your life that you relocate as well. Because if you're relocating while you're quite young, people are still kind of building their friendship groups, their social network. But when you get to a certain age, because at that time when I started working here, I was already in my 30s. And so I think most of the people that I came across had already kind of formed their friendship groups. So even though sometimes they'd extend like invitations for outings and stuff to you, but it was kind of hard to just make that deeper connection with people. Um, and honestly, I have to say that that's still be it's still been the case. Although now that I have my child, with my daughter now, I think I was also able to make a few friendships at her school with parents that are at her school. The only thing with friendships um, that you make in that way is that sometimes I find that it's only centered around talking about school things, and it's basically like work. It kind of stays, it hovers around um, the things that brought you together. So with work, most times your conversations or the things that you discuss is mainly work related, and it doesn't really go outside of that. And it's also the same with when you make friends as a parent with people in your child's school. Most times it kind of stays in that on that superficial level of talking more about just school or the kids or activities around them, and which is nice, and it's really good because honestly a lot of people that I met at my daughter's school, the moms, especially the ones that were already that lived here or Australian or whatever, um, you get a lot of resources from them, you get a lot of information that you would otherwise not be aware of. So it was good to form those relationships and friendships. But I think if you want to have more deeper kind of friendships, you really need to do the work. You need to put yourself out there. You need to, like, if you're a church person, maybe look out for people. I don't really, that's something that I have to say that even though my faith is that I'm a Christian, I haven't been to church in a long time, um, for a number of reasons as well. It's just been hard to find somewhere that actually resonates with me. Um, but besides that, yeah, so if you do go to church, excuse me, I think I'm going to have my coffee now. If you go to church, then you can make some friends there. Maybe you can. Um, but what I have been doing of recent is I have joined a group on Facebook of women similar to my age, and mainly women that are from um, like Africa, or women of color like myself anyway. Um, and so sometimes they organize events. I haven't been able to go for. I only recently joined, so I think sometimes you have to put yourself out there in that sense. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much what it is like with making with friendships and relationships. I have to say that the closest friend that I have that I talk to on a regular basis is actually based in Nigeria. So she was someone that I went to university with, and that was when I did my first degree. And we've kept in touch. I mean, we kind of lost contact for a long time, but we reconnected like 2, 3 years ago, and we talk very often. So it's nice to have that kind of friend, even if, and that's something that I might advise people that, you know, um, are finding themselves in a new space, new country, new location, is, whilst they're trying to make friends in this new space, new country you're in, I think it's important to still um, maintain the friendships, the close friendships you have with people back home or wherever, you know, you formed those friendships. Because even talking over the phone sometimes, or just doing a video chat with people that know your history, people that know you, um, it's nice. It's a nice thing, and it's something that has actually helped with my homesickness as well. It's just being able to reach out to people that I can reminisce with, I can chat with about different things. Um, for me, it's a nice thing. It's a nice feeling to know that I still have friends like that. Um, Anyway, so I will make this a short video. If there's anything that you might want me to discuss or any questions you might want me to answer about life here in Australia, let me know in the comments. And how have you found making friends in wherever you found yourself? If just for people that have relocated anyway, have you found it easy? Have you found that maybe just like me, as you age, it becomes a little bit more tricky? What has your experience been like in that regards? In my next video, I'm hoping to cover a few more topics um, in regards to how I was able to find the work, which I've been working in the same place for the past 7 years now. Um, and that took a while anyway to be able to find that job. But yes, let me know if there's anything else that you want me to cover. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe so you can get updates on my videos. All right, thanks for watching and stay safe and see you in the next one. Bye.